What's her role?
Well, she's a coach. I know the title is special assistant to the head coach, but now we can have the 6 accountable coaches. So she's a coach, and she goes by Miko. So that's her nickname. She's brought so much energy, enthusiasm, great personality. She has experience coaching. She was a player at Tennessee. She played pros, so she just brings a lot to the table. When you guys watch her, I think you guys are watching practice today. You'll see her. She brings energy and enthusiasm, and never has a bad day. So I'm really happy she's here.
So she said she wasn't sure she wanted to coach again, but she kind of was looking at the administrative side. So what does she bring on the coaching side?
Well, I love energy and enthusiasm. I think that's really valuable, especially with a young team and especially with so many new players. I think that because she had some the rough last experience, and I think as a coach, I think sometimes that's discouraging if you're in a situation where the coaches get let go, and I think that's really hard. So going back to Tennessee, did some stuff on the academic side, which is also a benefit for us because, just to help us in that role here, even on staff. So she brings a lot. She brings experience. She brings. I love when there's someone who actually has been there, done that at every level. She played pro. She played, for Liberty, got hurt, so she's been through a lot of things. Played at a high level at Tennessee, from a military family, so has a great background, a great base. So I love all her experiences, and the players really like her. A lot of them got to talk to her on her interview and love her, and then also some background. Coach Turner actually coached with her, and some of my friends, she worked for. So it's been a really good fit. I'm really, really happy with her.
And what is sort of the wide range of stuff? I mean, she's going to be coaching, obviously, and helping you out there. But as a special assistant, how does she help you?
Yeah, I think the special assistant part is just kind of anything. So, for instance, she'll have a big role in academics. Like she was actually an advisor, so she has a lot of experience in that role. Academics are huge to me and important. So, kind of a plan with that. She's really organized. So just help with kind of the organization of that. Just we're on the road and checking in and just new systems in place. As far as practice, she'll help with practice. She was a really good post player. She's really good on the court. She actually is very good on the court. And then her energy, enthusiasm, helps with practice players, organization of teaching them the plays. She'll help with coaching. So she's a coach. She's a coach, and now that we have more, so why not have some more experiences? And I thought she also brings me that younger, cooler, hipper coach that knows the music and knows the swag that I don't know because I'm too old. I'm old enough to be their moms. So just a different balance. And I think that she's a really good balance for us because we're all so different, but we bring different strengths. And I think she's really added to that. And you'll be able to tell the first 5 minutes of practice. And I like that because I think, if you look at Coach Salvo and Coach Anthony, they are just a little bit more laid back and probably not the raw, and then she's more like, hey, girl, like high five, talk, she's more like, reminds me of those players around the court. So they were really good communicators. Like when you think of a volleyball player that turns basketball player, they're always like, yeah, always communicating. That's how she is from the sideline. And I think her and Bet bring a lot of energy, which is important for what we do.
Jason in the back.
Before we get to my question, you mentioned practice a couple times. What time is practice?
It's at, So,
A lot of times the biggest improvement from a player is from their freshman to their sophomore year. What does that say about the core of your team and the potential for this season?
it says a lot. So we had, our core, obviously, Jada and Skyler and Brea. They were thrown into the fire last year. They had tremendous experience just in the tournament, in so many overtime games, and I think that their growth as freshmen is more like 2 years of growth. Like we saw, I always give the example of Kiki Rice at UCLA. They ended up as sophomore years playing like juniors or seniors. I think you're going to see that same growth. Jada has tremendously improved. She's just her body, her voice, how she approaches things, her work ethic, everything has gone to the next level. Brea and Skyler also. So I think that you're going to see a lot from them. I think you're going to see them lead us in so many ways on and off the court. And then the other person that we haven't talked a lot about is Montea. Because Montea was out last year, so a lot of people forgot about her. But she's basically been here, a couple of years, and she's only going to be a freshman. So she's kind of thrown into that mix. And so I'm really excited about this core and just excited to see what they do this year.
What specifically have you seen from Skyler? Because All three of those freshmen, Brea and Jada and Skyler, took a real jump especially in the last portion
For sure.
of the season in the NCAAs. And we really saw each one come in a different way, but Skyler especially. What are you seeing now after this off season of like summer training and now getting into today starts official?
Yes, Skyler has taken on more of a leadership role this year. So she, like before, she always had the work ethic. She always went hard. I think she was really hard on herself last year and a little immature in that area. She has grown in that area a lot. She is using her voice to encourage other people, not only worry about herself, not have a little bit less narrow in that sense. She has gained probably like 11 pounds of muscle. I mean, if you see her body, like she was always athletic looking, but she's just really more developed in that sense. I think that more powerful this year, and I think a lot of that's attributed to Chris Allen in the weight room. And I think she's just ready. I think she just learned so much last year. Remember, she went from not playing really, and how many times when she barely played, like in the Bahamas, and then to having like an impact game in a tournament. So I think she sees all the stuff that we put her through and that she learned her freshman year and grew. And I think that's really motivated her. So you could tell she didn't take a lot of time off. You could tell she stayed focused and she wanted to be better. And it's just her game is a lot better. Now she goes, before she never went right, and now she goes right some. Sorry, my phone is like, my son is calling me nonstop. And she's just ready. I think she's ready to go to the next level. She's ready to lead the team, and she wants to. And I think that's the big transition of all these freshmen. They want to lead the team. They want to bring everybody else along, and they feel like they've earned that. So that's been fun to be a part of. So she's ready to go. You'll see. I think you'll see when you see her. You're going to be like, wow, you look great.
How would you describe where Montea is a year removed from her surgery and what you think she learned during the process of not being able to play?
Montea learned a lot. Montea faced a tremendous amount of adversity, in her personal life, with her mom passing, and that's a public thing, so that's not a secret, and with her tearing her ACL. So that was a lot for a young person to handle in 1 year. And she came to us, remember she came early because of her family situation. So it was just a lot in 1 year. I've watched her grow a lot. I've watched her find her voice a lot more. I think you have a new sense of being and belonging. And, remember her mom was her backbone her whole life. So I think that was just something that's going to make her stronger later. As far as work ethic in the weight room, on the court, she's hungry. She's been out a long time. And I think we counted for one point she was out like 13 months straight. So she's stronger. Her shot has improved because she's had a lot of time to focus on the form of her shot and just the consistency. And I think she just wants to play. It's just been a long time and kind of just has she really plays with a purpose right now. So that's been good to watch. And she's a very smart player regardless, but she doesn't feel or look like a freshman. So I'm hoping all these experiences and seeing what she went through and growing in that way, I think she'll be a better player later. A lot of times when you get injured as a player, you get to sit back and you get to see a lot of things that you want to change or how you don't want to be or how you want to be, and that's what it did for me. And so I think just teaching her in that process, hey, body language is important because this is why. Look at this player, this is why you don't want that. Or leadership is important on the bench because of X, Y, and Z. So I think it's helped her grow in a lot of ways, and I think that'll help her as a player. So we'll see.
Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I totally understand the
Yeah.
challenge of trying to find the right number of players. The situation a couple of years ago where
Yeah.
too many people wanted to play, then a couple losses and things can kind of go the wrong direction, and then you don't also want what happened last year. Do you have the right number this year, and how do you come up with the right number?
Well, I remember a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, I want 15. And then after the 15, I said, never again. You remember that? I probably said that to you guys. And then what happened last year, obviously that was difficult, just with all the changes in the rosters and the injuries. So I think 15 is hard. Well, actually 14. 14 is difficult to manage, but I think that the way we play, I think it's possible to play more players. And just remember, we're not going to really lose. We're going to lose Isis, and then possibly we don't know the situation with Adia, so we're going to have this same core again next year. So I think the positive thing is that they're not going to play like freshmen. They're going to grow. I think the style that we play, we can play deeper into our bench. And I think the thing as a coach, what I've learned is if players don't have an opportunity, especially if, let's say the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th player, they are not going to stay. So finding that balance of figuring out how to, give the freshmen some experience. Maybe they're not ready to play 20 minutes. Maybe it's just playing them some. So you can, keep them on your roster. So I think that's a balance. So hopefully I'll balance out a little bit better. But we needed more depth for sure. And remember, 2 are walk-ons. So we have the 14, Maya's still on scholarship, and then we have 14, and then 2 are walk-ons. So that's a little bit different too. I think before I had 15 scholarship players, so I think the roles and the understanding is also different. So.
Walk on, and what made you want to bring her back?
Yeah, so Brooklyn was one of the walk-ons from last year. She's awesome. She's a 4.0 student. She is a great person. She's got a good personality. The players like her. She works hard. So for me, it made sense to bring her back. And so I ended up putting both of them on scholarship. So I think that makes it a little bit easier if you have 2 walk-ons that are on scholarship versus like you have 15 players because they really know they're going to play. I think when you're in a walk-on situation, I think the roles are a little bit different and it's more accepting. So I think it's not as challenging.
You said Maya's still on scholarship?
Yeah, Maya's on scholarship. Yeah.
Does that work, or what's the dynamic?
It's just she's on scholarship, not just working at medical school, so just takes up 1, so we have 14. So.
I gotta ask you about that schedule, and I know you hate those questions, but it looks pretty soft.
Yeah.
So what was your thinking when you were doing that this year?
Yeah, last year our scheduled preseason was too hard. It was too hard for our team. I don't want to say too hard, but very challenging. And then going into a gauntlet of a season. Did not want that again. Also wanted to be home a lot more. I just felt that was the right thing. We have so many new players, and going into the Big 12, a lot of uncertainty and not knowing. But I don't think it's that easy. We're going to play Michigan, and we're going to play some good teams in some tournaments. But yes, like no doubt it was not going to be like last year. And when I think of, hindsight's always 20/20, but when I think of going into the tournament, it really hurt us. And I don't feel like there was enough weight put on having the number 2 strength of schedule in the country and where we were in the tournament. I don't think that did us benefits. I think that if we had a little easier schedule in the non-conference, I think that a lot different we could have probably won another game in the tournament. And that's just the reality, which I didn't think it would be like that. But to me, it was obvious it was like that when we did all the research at the end of the year. So
Following up on that, I mean, in the past, you could rely on the Pac-12 being so strong to lift you. And the Big 12 is a good league,
Yeah.
but it's not Pac-12.
yeah.
So how does that kind of weigh into your thinking when you're doing that?
Well, it did weigh into my thinking, but when I did all the research and did all the numbers, winning 2 or 3 more games would have been a drastic difference in the standings. So I thought there'd be a lot more weight put on the strength of schedule, but then in the tournament, I realized that wasn't the case because there was a lot of other teams that ended up not having a buy-in game, basically, and had a way lower strength of schedule. So that told me, okay, well, it doesn't need to be as strong, and I would have been in a better situation. We would have been in a better situation. So that kind of weighed into it. And now, before that, I would have never thought that because I also didn't anticipate all the injuries and stuff, and I made the schedule that hard because we were pretty loaded. But then losing players, injuries, changes, it made it hard. But that also, how it's going to help us, it did hurt us in the tournament last year, but how it will help us is they learned so much, and we had a lot of adversity just as a team, overtime games, close games against really good teams that is going to help later. And what I think about is, 5 years ago? Remember Aries Group, we lost all those games in overtime, and then we were just like right there. And then the next year, we went to the championship game. So not that it's the same situation, but similar experiences with a younger core. So I was really happy. My focus was to keep this core together and then build on that, and I think we've been able to do that.
One more question for Coach.
So what made GCU finally come around? Because I know you've been trying to get them for years, and they kept saying no.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what exactly made it come around. I think that just all the changes and all the budget situations, we were trying for many years, but their coach and I just talked, and I think similar things, wanted to play more regional and very hard to get games. And we are all, it was hard to get games this year. I mean, it wasn't until a couple months ago that we finished everything, or probably a month ago, and the last couple games were really hard to fill. So I think that they're in a similar situation, and playing us really makes sense. I'm just glad that they finally realized that, because I've been saying that for 9 years. And I think that also probably administration really encourages that, because it makes sense for us to play each other down the road, and it just saves both of our programs a lot of money. And all those things are factors now going into this new model coming up, and finances are important, and we're an hour and a half away from each other. So I'm glad it happened. I think that we can continue to build that relationship.
Thank you.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Thanks.